Well, we're really lucky today to have Tola from Walkers on the call with us, and to find out a lot more about social media at Walkers and also what we can all learn from the team. So Tola, would you be able to give me a little bit more information about your role and your responsibilities for looking after social media, just so everyone can understand?
Of course. Thank you, Karen, for having me. So I'm Tola, as Karen has said. I'm the e-commerce marketing lead for our Walkers wholesale and impulse business. What that means basically is that I own our paid digital marketing calendar.
So do you look after any particular social accounts?
Oh, yes. I primarily look after paid content on our Facebook and Instagram PepsiCo UK trade accounts.
Okay, so that's quite a lot of accounts.
Well, it's two, one on Instagram and one on Instagram and one on Facebook, and then we also have a Twitter account, but that's managed by somebody else on our team.
Okay, brilliant. So, what benefits has social delivered for Walkers?
Well, it's really been an immense. We've seen immense benefits. Like, we only began this journey last year, and we've been able to drive engagement with retailers, been able to provide information on products, launches, been able to share relevant trade and industry focused information to our trade audience.
So have you noticed any changes in customer behavior on social accounts over the last year, bearing in mind everything that's happened?
That's super interesting. So I think we've learned quite a bit since we started. We've learned that some platforms are more tailored to suit, trade press, whilst others are more geared towards retailer audiences. We find that our Facebook and Instagram are very good for our retailer audiences. We also find that there's more people now active in the digital space, like more retailers. More people are engaged on Instagram and Facebook.
So that is really interesting, and something that may surprise some people, because some people maybe consider Instagram to be that younger platform, and that's all it's used for. So it's good to see. Do you think that you've noticed more success with Instagram than you have Facebook, and do you think that's changed over the course of the year as it's gone on?
I think both Facebook and Instagram are equally as important to us, to be honest. We do see a lot of engagement on Facebook as a standalone platform, but you do know they're all just one company. So typically when we run our ads, it's split across both platforms. But we do find that we tend to engage a lot with our retailer audiences on Facebook particularly, but both platforms really work for us. Yeah.
So what sort of content are you finding works well for you? And is there any particular campaign that you think people could learn from?
Sure. So, it's still very early days, as I mentioned, as we only began this journey last year. So we are still learning, but what we've learned and continue, what we do is continue to learn about what type of content fits each of the platform that we use. We've learned that video type content works really well on Instagram and Facebook. So we continue to churn out a lot more video content. We also find that when we do new launches, like new product development, NPDs, we find there's loads of excitement about new products, and that for us is really great. We also see that we have a lot of high engagement with like promo and competition-led campaigns. We find that really resonates with our audience as well.
Brilliant. So do you think you're just thinking about who's listening today, do you think a combination of all of those activities is the way to go?
Absolutely, because you don't just want to be informing people about new products, you want to excite them, you want to get them engaged, about it's in a way somewhat similar to how brands do digital marketing to appeal to end consumers. In some ways it's similar in that sense. You want to excite them, and we find that promos, competitions, giveaways really help to drive that excitement with our retailer audience.
Great. So how do you measure your sales activity against social? You said you've seen that it works really well. Is that a social success measures you're looking at, or actually are you able to tie it back to sales, or is it just too difficult because of all the other marketing activity you've got going on?
That's a really good question, and one that we're constantly trying to answer ourselves. So we measure by various ways. We have engagement metrics by which we understand exactly if our campaign has worked in terms of the creative, the content, so the messaging and all of that. We have engagement metrics like click-through rates that we actually look at to say, okay, of the amount of people that actually saw this campaign, how many people actually clicked on it, And then we also have We have, our reach metrics, which we try to understand, is our audience targeting, is that working really well? How many people are we reaching, with our campaigns? And then finally, and one that we're very keen as well to work with wholesalers on is sales data. So where we have our Pixel installed on wholesaler sites, we can measure some sales data, but it's still very early stages, and we are quite keen to work with more wholesalers to implement this. So as a proxy for now, we measure performance based on leads to wholesaler sites and the actions they take on there, but we're not able to measure all of our sales data, which would be great if we could, because we're investing. This is something that we're investing so much in to drive traffic to wholesaler sites, to be able to help us be able to understand exactly how it's working, for us as a business.
Brilliant. So obviously you're not just producing content for social media as a company, that's not your only marketing activity. How do you make sure what you're doing on social ties in with everything else that you're doing as a business?
Oh, of course. So that's another really good question. So we have ways of working internally by which we align with various parts of the business. Coming into this year, we also developed a tiered strategy to enable us adequately prioritize all the types of content we believe are relevant to our social audiences. So based on this strategy, on our tiered strategy, we overlay with our brand and shopper calendar. So we see exactly what new products are coming in the future. We see what's going to be in the depots as well, so that our social calendar is also aligned to what's going on in depot. We also align with their promo calendar where available. So if they have a giveaway or a pricing promotion, where it's possible, we align. We also take quite I'd call it a cross-functional approach, and we basically try to plan half yearly in advance. So whilst aligning every month to accommodate immediate business needs as well.
Fab. Yesterday on the Get Social Week, we talked about social advertising, and I'm very aware that you may be further along your journey than some people who have been listening to the sessions this week. I think everyone with social is at a completely different stage. Some people opening accounts for the first time, others much more advanced and using things like the Facebook, Facebook Pixel, like yourself. For those that haven't really experimented with social advertising, what sort of lessons have you learned about the targeting at the different audiences and making sure that you're reaching your audience rather than the consumer audience?
That's a really, really good question, and one that I think has taken us time and will continue to improve on. I mean, there are a few various things you could do. One is, and the great thing about social is that there's such a breadth of audiences you can target. What we try to do for interest-based audiences, we try to overlay with, small business, we try to overlay with a small business audience. So we don't just use interest-based audiences on their own. We try to overlay that with, people that own businesses, just to help us be more precise in our targeting. Another thing that's super useful, and where possible, I'd encourage, businesses or, that are beginning to think of using social to do, is their CRM list. So of course, ensuring it's GDPR compliant, but then your CRM list is really the number one source of actual people who, who are your customers, and feeding that into the Facebook, and it's completely encoded on both sides, so you don't necessarily see the data once you upload it, and whoever is on the Facebook side also doesn't see it. It's completely encoded on both sides. But your CRM list is really it's an essential tool if you have access to it, to target with precision, I think, on paid social.
That's brilliant. I'm kind of relieved that you said overlaying with a small business audience, because that's what I advised everyone to do yesterday too.
Oh wow, great minds.
So lots of people are put off by social media because of untrue and fake accounts. And I think this challenge has only got bigger over the course of the last year. How do you recommend businesses try and build that trust on their social accounts so that they maintain the trust in your brand?
I agree, and that's really important. I mean, I think there are a few different methods to build trust. The first one, I think, is essentially, if you can, you definitely should, is to aim to get your account verified by Facebook or Instagram or whatever platform you use. Just that blue tick of approval or verification really, adds a lot to build trust with, your audience. I think also evangelizing and, being the key promoter, so including links to your social handles on all official and trade comms. That helps your audience to know that, those are your authentic accounts and they actually exist. And then also, thirdly, I'd say speak to your audience, find out from them. And the good thing about Facebook and Instagram is there's so many tools you can use, from polling tools to this or that tools. There's different ways you can measure. Just try to understand what they'd like to see and then push the type of content that will resonate with them. I mean, to be honest, it'd be a whole test and learn process, because you might do something that might not really land with them. But then I think the more you test and the more you test, the more you know exactly what they'd like to see. And all of these three things together, I think, would really help to strengthen trust and build trust with your audiences on social.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good point about the test and learn approach. I think some people think that, you're suddenly going to get a load of sales, but you may well have done something that doesn't resonate with the audience, and a slight tweak. That's one of the real benefits I feel of the advertising platform, is that ability to be able to test content for reasonably small amounts of money. Okay. Just talking about social media in general, what's your biggest frustration with social?
Wow, frustration, I think, to be honest, nothing really comes to mind for me with the word frustration. I love social media. I mean, it's my job, it's a job I do. I think it's such a powerful tool for connection. Where I think there might be areas for growth is I think wholesalers need to be more intentional about the role social media and digital marketing can have in attaining business goals. And, there's nothing to be scared about. It's literally it's a whole pool of testing and learning. Just try a few things, see what works for you, and just continue to do what works. Because there's such a huge audience out there that you're not engaging with, or missing out on engaging with, by not, being intentional about your about your social strategy. So for me, I don't really have any frustration with social. I genuinely like it. I think it's a great tool for connection, both personal and also business.
So my biggest frustration is the people that say they don't have the time to do it. But realistically, it's people who say they don't have time or budget, because we can actually achieve quite a lot with a small amount of money. What would you say to that person that says I don't have the time or the budget to do social?
I think you're missing out on a whole lot. And similar, like I said before, it's really such a powerful tool. And there's so much innovation coming from the platforms as well. I mean, currently there's talks about there's social commerce happening on the B2C side. So people are shopping right off of the platforms. So it really is. I think you'd be missing out on a whole lot. And you don't have to start big. Just dedicate some resource towards understanding the value the channel could add to you. And if it doesn't work for you, it's fine. At least try it out and then decide that, okay, this is not for us, maybe right now, maybe in the future. But I think it's worth dedicating some resource, time, and also financial resource towards, financial and human resource towards understanding the value of the channel.
So what would you say, what would you like to see wholesalers posting on those channels?
Well, I think there's a whole lot of different things you could post, from, new product launches. That always gets people excited, to what's happening in depots, just keeping people up to date with what's happening in depots, products information, deals / promo products, industry information, if there's something happening in the wholesale, in specific parts of the wholesale industry, posting about that, events, company news, if there's been changes, and even going as far as, a look behind the scenes of the, day-to-day of what goes on in a depot. I think there's all sorts of things that retailer audiences are interested in. And I think is by having, again, I'm going to use the word again, testing and learning, you find exactly what really resonates, and also asking questions on your accounts as well.
Yeah. So how can you support wholesalers and drive sales together?
Wow, so we are actually very keen to do this at Walkers. We're working to work with wholesalers to drive a digital agenda, and through various means, from upskilling, working together with the social platforms as well, and wholesalers to partner and execute on what next level digital campaigns are.
So I'm very conscious of time. I've got one question left for you, and that's, if there was one thing you want people to take away from this Get Social Week, what would it be?
It would be one, digital is the future, therefore social is not going to go away, especially with creation of new things like social commerce coming up. I would say have a digital plan, engage your customers, digital account teams, and work together to create a plan that delivers both for your business and the customer.
Fantastic. What a brilliant way to end the week. So I'm going to say goodbye to you now, and thank you for giving up your time and sharing all that advice. And it's also goodbye from me, because this is the last session of the week. I hope you've all learned plenty, and please do get in touch if you've got any questions. Please also don't forget to enter the competition to win 3 months social support. Thanks, everyone.
Of course, thank you. My pleasure, Karen. Cheers.